Hello, I'm the Reverend Ross Bliss, Vicar at Christ Church Cathedral, Victoria, and I'm here today with Sue MacRae, and we're going to do a little interview here about our upcoming Lenten Fast. Over to you, Sue.
Thank you so much, Ross. Good to be here with you. As many of you know, the season of Lent is approaching, and to that end, we're turning our minds in that direction and thinking about Lent and wondering what it means and what it means for us as Christians. And I think first of all, Ross, I'd like to ask you a little bit about Lent. How does fasting fit into it?
Well, to begin with, Lent, as you know, is one of the two principal penitential seasons in the church year, the other one being Advent. And Lent is a 40-day season, which is intended to resemble or replicate Jesus' 40-day withdrawal into the desert, where he fasted. So it's already got that connection. And, you've heard of Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. Well, the tradition there is to use up the fat in the house. Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. And, have some treats and have a festive evening. And then on you go to the 40 days where you abstain from various foods. Mainly the more precious foods like animal foods and stuff like that. So I think one of the reasons we like this approach that this guide offers is that it's, I think, a deeper understanding of fasting in some sense, because unfortunately, I think we've come to think of it as just mere deprivation. Like there's some virtue in just stopping doing something pleasurable, plain and simple, which is kind of a bit of a denial of this world in a way. We're getting back that whole, spiritual good, physical bad, that sort of, very simplistic kind of idea. And I think it's to think more in terms of a monastic principle. A fast, yes, you are doing without something, but it's more like adjusting what you think is enough, because you're actually trying to be content. You're not trying to suffer so much as you're trying to be content with less. And I think the idea there is to raise your awareness of what you have, where you are, be satisfied with where you are. The grass is not always greener somewhere else, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that you can be in one place, be still, and create space in yourself for insights and deepening of faith and understanding, which is really what a fast is about. So that's just sort of a long story of what we're hoping to do. And we think this particular approach offers that.
Great. Okay, so the proposal for this year is a Lenten discipline with a new twist. What does it consist of?
Well, it's focused on, its title is called, it's A Fast for the Earth, Lent 2021, and it comes from the Diocese of Toronto where they developed it, so we're quite grateful for them sharing it this way. And what it does is it focuses on a different theme for the 7 weeks, and it lets you abstain from that particular thing for the purpose of considering that particular thing in light of how we're caring for the earth and how we're using the earth's resources and how we're relating to that and how we're buffeted around by desires and ignorance of how we're impacting the earth. So it's tying the Lenten fast into sort of an eco-awareness, a chance to grow in awareness of ecology and how we care for creation.
Oh, that's really great. I'm looking at the outline of it here, and I see that the first week, which is sort of a shortened week because we begin on Wednesday of that week, which is the day we call Ash Wednesday.
That's correct.
And so that first week takes us from Wednesday to Sunday, and it's called a meat fast, and followed by consumption fast, and on they go. So let's talk a little bit about each one of those focuses. First of all, the meat fast.
Yep. As you've named it, and it's pretty straightforward. It's an opportunity to test drive a vegetarian approach, and just to see what it's like, to see if you haven't tried it, how satisfying is it and how feasible is it. A lot of people have never actually experienced that, and there's sort of almost a taboo around, oh my goodness, I could not do without meat. So, and it's not forever, it's a week, and people can do it in degrees. They can, there's no, it's not a competition,
Yeah.
And consumption, I think, is really, I think is very important. It has to do with, our carbon footprint, with what we consume, what we purchase, and particularly with the packagings that go with it, and things like cleaning products, things like, so many things. Everything we use and buy had to be made somewhere and probably had to be shipped to where we are, so it's an opportunity to think about all of that.
For the whole, you're thinking about your consumption, your level of consumption, and what you.
That's right.
How much is necessary and how much is actually frivolous.
Where is contentment?
Yes. Yeah.
Week 3 is a food waste fast. And my goodness, we all probably overshop, especially when we're thinking how healthy we want to be and we buy all these vegetables that we end up not eating and that sort of thing, So it's an opportunity to be a little more conscious about our shopping and our usage of food and hopefully throw less out.
That's great.
Week 4 is water. Now here's a serious thing, right? Water is, my goodness, it's behind everything, right? It's all the other things we're talking about. Without water, none of them happen, right?
Yes.
And we also remember that many people in Canada don't even have access to potable water, right? So it's a way to remember that too. And so just thinking about how much water we use, showering, doing clothes, all that stuff, Week 5. Now this gets a bit more interesting here. It's an injustice fast. And you can think about that in terms of, for example, buying a fair trade product, thinking about a garden to provide habitat for birds who are perishing because their habitat's being destroyed, all sorts of things like that, justice issues that deal with creation. Week 6 is an electricity fast. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to sit around, reading by a coal oil lamp for a whole week, but to some extent, monitoring and trying to be thoughtful about your use of electricity for an entire week.
Takes me back to my teenage years. I can remember my dad roaming around the house, turning off light switches.
Yeah. And then week 7, finally, an ignorance fast.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And the idea here is not to be negative about it. Like, I'm trying to rid myself of all my dumbness. In my case, that would never work. It's to focus on learning about the world around us, to infill what we don't know by learning something about the world around us. And so that takes us through the 7 weeks. And I like how it's varied. And, it gives us a whole panorama of experiences and things to learn from.
That's great. Sounds like a lot of really good ideas and growing edges for many of us. How will we share these insights, do you think?
Well, the plan, first of all, people can organize, they could seek a buddy to do this, to talk about this with, or organize little groups themselves. But we are going to gather or have an opportunity to gather at the end of each week on the Saturday, beginning of February 20th at 4 p.m. And there's a link is going out, a Zoom link is going out for people to access those gatherings. And so people are free to come and, basically just talk about the experience, what they learned, what was difficult, what was easy, just all sorts of stuff. We'll see what comes up, I think we can learn from each other.
Yes.
As well. So there'll be a weekly opportunity to do that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So if you were listening to this interview and you wanted to get on board this Lenten program of fasting, how would you get a copy and get launched?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I believe the information is actually going out today. It's fairly early, but that gives people time to sit with it and stuff. So there should be something going out in the e-news, and through all our normal promotional ways. And that will include a link to this document, the copy of the actual Fast for the Earth plan, and also the Zoom link will go out there, and a little blurb of some basic information about it. So I think everything people need to participate should be going out today in the
Is
e-news.
there some way that you could sign up so that you kind of make that commitment?
We haven't incorporated that into the program because I thought it was kind of an unnecessary layer. We'd like it to be free. And we'd like people, and it also creates it makes it complicated right off the bat, right? Because it's a barrier too for some people. So we're just going to this one we can just let it be and let people participate as they like, right? Yeah.
But if someone wanted a buddy, could they connect with you to try and find match
We
up?
haven't. I mean, I don't know if we need a go-between for that either. Really,
Yes,
I don't. We don't operate a dating service here, so people can find their own buddies. I think too, right? Because that just gets really complicated. And,
Okay, yeah. And presumably, when we have the Saturday sessions, if there was somebody who attended that with Zoom and they wanted to connect with somebody else in the group, they could just simply ask them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and make those connections there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, Ross, this may seem kind of an obvious question, but I feel I need to ask it. What does fasting for the earth have to do with being a follower of Jesus?
Well, everything.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the alternative is to sort of be the type of Christian who just longs for the next world and doesn't feel any sense of commitment to this one, right?
Yeah.
Abdicate all that and just wait for the next world. That ain't right. And the other extreme would be, a non-believer who just thinks all there is matter in this world, and so we can just exploit it because there are no eternal meanings to it. So neither of those are what we're doing, obviously. Jesus is, we remember, it's the resurrection of the body, right? Lent is preparing us to illumine ourselves for that insight, for that light to come in. And so it's, if it doesn't involve caring for creation, caring for the world that God made, that God thought enough of to come back and reveal God's self to us, for creatures, for us, I think this Christianity only makes sense, and the notion of Jesus only makes sense if it has an impact on this life and this nation.
That's great. Well, every beginning of Lent, I'm always looking for something to help me focus during those 6 weeks, and I think I'm definitely getting on board this one. It looks like
Glad to hear that. Yeah.
So I look forward to meeting you on the Saturdays and to getting the resources on my e-news. And if I'm not connected to that, I can always phone the church office and they will send
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ross.
Thank you, Sue. All right. And hope to see all of you soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.